Welcome everyone to our weekly IG live. Really nice to be online again with everyone, and hope there's a few of you out there who can make it with us this evening. Angela, thank you for joining. Tiru, Priya Radhesham, Kishori Chori, Sanj, Saroj. Yeah, nice to see you all. We'll just give it a bit of time for everyone to come on. So I've just been up and down the country this week, like a bit of a yo-yo. I guess that's the story of my life. And it's been wonderful just meeting different people and trying to share wisdom that breathes. I guess that's one of the lines that I'm trying to live by. Thank you. Many of you are joining. Nayan, Manav, nice to see you. Janvi, Divyash, excellent. Old friends are here. So thank you so much. And yeah, we've got some really exciting things lined up. I'm really excited about life in general at the moment. It looks like, if it's the will of Providence, that I'll be heading towards the holy town of Vrindavan. Perhaps, within a couple of weeks. And that's going to be really, really special. Some of you may be aware that in a couple of weeks, we have a very special month coming up. It's called Kartik. And Kartik is a very special month in which it's almost like a spiritual sale. And during that month, many, many pilgrims go to the holy village of Vrindavan in India, where Krishna was present many thousands of years ago. And I haven't been to Vrindavan in Kartik for 20 years. So this year could be my year to make that connection again. So I'm really excited, just getting stressed out about finding a decent ticket that doesn't cost over £1,000. And apart from that, I'll be good to go. So thank you. A few more of you are joining. Himesh is also struggling to get a visa. Don't worry, hang in there. I'm sure it will all work out. And thank you. I'll miss all of you, but we'll stay connected. I want to do something actually when I go to Vrindavan this year, which is I want to try and stay connected with everyone and give all of you a gift, which is maybe a daily little realization from the ground in Vrindavan. So let's see if it works out, then we'll try to do that. So we're up to 50 now. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm sure we'll join some other stragglers on as we continue on this evening. Wherever you are, maybe you can tell us what you had for dinner today. It would be good to know. I'm sure some of you may be eating right now. Minesh, welcome. Many of you want to go to Vrindavan. Okay, excellent. Yeah, it will all work out. I'll just say some prayers before we begin, and in this way we can make ourselves available for this beautiful wisdom. Mexican prasadam. Okay, we'll meditate on that. Om Agyan Atimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Wow, I'm getting offers of donations. That's so kind. Thank you so much. Yes, we'll connect, and nice to see. Yes, Harini is at ISKCON London with all the ladies there, and she's doing a training program there, or leading a training program maybe. Amazing. So yeah, let's have some questions and answers, and what I'm going to do is ask all of you to put some of your questions that you may have on the chat. This Instagram is like, it just moves so quick, and it really gets me also a little, I start speaking really fast as well. So I'm going to start trying to slow down and just get into a bit more of a meditative mood. And I'm going to try and answer some of your questions. And while I give some of you some time to think about what questions you have, I'm going to just look at some of the questions that some of you posted on Insta and see where we are going to go from there. All right, let's begin with a nice one from Radhika. She says, we spiritualists reject the theory of Darwin. And if it's not true, then why are we being taught that in schools, even in India? Thank you, Radhika, for your question. So let me just make a few comments on this. Srila Prabhupada, when he was responding to Darwin's theory of evolution, Srila Prabhupada did not discount the fact that Darwin hadn't found anything. Srila Prabhupada said that yes, Darwin has done significant research and he may have uncovered certain things. However, the basic premise of evolution, that everything comes from matter, that everything evolves randomly, and that the evolution of species and the presence of life on this earth is ultimately not having any deeper spiritual or metaphysical meaning, that we object to. And so when we respond to science, we're not saying that science hasn't discovered anything. Clearly, science has discovered many things. But what we would say is that science hasn't uncovered the complete reality. And in that sense, scientific claims to have explained God out of the picture, that we cannot accept, and that we profusely debate and try to respond to. So you're asking, Radhika, why are such things taught in schools, colleges, universities around the world as irrevocable scientific fact? And we would say that's a problem. We have no problem with people positing that this is a theory, but to say it is scientific truth, to say it's been proved, to say it basically takes God out of the picture because science now has all the answers, that we wouldn't agree with. And therefore, it's one of the duty of spiritual people to go out there in the world and share with people that what they may have been taught in schools, taught through the media, taught through popular culture is not necessarily true. They say, if someone says a truth long enough, then that so-called, if someone tells a lie long enough, then that so-called lie becomes a truth. If that truth is accepted by enough people, it becomes a so-called culture. And if that culture is transmitted from one generation to the next, it becomes a tradition. And then people are born into that so-called tradition, which is based on lies, and they accept it without questioning. So one of the things, our job is to go out into the world and tell people, question everything. Don't just accept things blindly. Don't accept science blindly, and don't also accept spirituality blindly. Question everything and test it and see whether it actually holds ground. And so we don't have a problem with science. Science has discovered many things. We don't have a problem with science in the sense that science makes things better for us, more convenient. In fact, many scientists believed in God. One famous scientist said, all I'm doing by all my scientific research is finding out how God did his work. So many scientists realized that they were just uncovering divine nature. But scientism, which is the fanatical, inflated claim that they've explained away God, that we can't accept. And therefore, that's what we're responding to. So thank you so much. Some thoughts on science. And if anyone here has a follow-up question on science or something of that nature, then let me know. I'll do a few more questions from the comments that I received beforehand. And then I'm going to head into some of your live questions. Thank you. Some of you are still joining. Priti, Kamal, Yadav Krishna. Thank you so much. Okay, here's a good one from Manju Mangal. You often talk about adjusting expectations. Can you share more on how we can do this? Yeah, we all have expectations in life, and they say great expectations can often lead to great frustrations. Manju Mangal, let me share this with you. You can't live in life without having a plan. Failing to plan means planning to fail, as the famous aphorism goes. So we have to live in this world with a plan. The problem comes when our plan becomes an expectation. So now I want everyone on the call to reflect. And Manju Mangal, you can reflect yourself. Do I have plans in my life, or do I have expectations? And let me tell you the difference between having plans and having expectations. When you have an expectation, you have a strong belief that something is going to happen. When you have a plan, there's a certain amount of detachment knowing that the world is unpredictable. So therefore, plans never make you frustrated, because from the day one, you know it may not go my way. But when you've shifted into the mindset of that plan becoming an expectation, and you have a strong belief it's going to happen, that becomes problematic, because it often doesn't turn out like that. When you have a plan, you think that, when you have an expectation, you think your happiness is dependent on things turning out a certain way. But when you have a plan, you know that whether it goes this way or that way, there's always another way. And therefore your happiness is not hinging on it. That's the difference between a plan and an expectation. When you have a plan, what you do is you put the emphasis on the effort, the endeavor, the attempt. When you have an expectation, you put the emphasis on the result, the outcome, the ultimate end. Can you control the end? Can you control the result? No, you can't. But you can control your effort and attempt. Therefore, it's always better to have plans than expectations. And when you have plans, you're flexible, because plans can change and you're ready to change your plans. But when you have an expectation, you become very rigid, and then it's very difficult to change. And therefore, expectations frustrate you. So now I want you to think about your life and ask yourself, do I have plans or do I have expectations? If you have plans, you live a very progressive and a very positive life. If you have expectations, you can live a very limiting life, and a life in which there's a lot of frustration and negativity. And so we have to learn this art of having plans, but not letting those plans develop into expectations, because expectations bring frustrations. And when we realize that the goal, that our happiness in life is not dependent on an outcome. It's not dependent on an outcome. Life turning out in a certain way. The fortunes falling in a certain way. It's not dependent on that. The success of my life is dependent on my inner world, my quality of consciousness, my effort, my sincerity, my purity. Then we live a much more progressive life. So think today, do I have plans or do I have expectations? And maybe you can start shifting some of expectations you have into plans and trying your best and being ready to be flexible if it doesn't work out in that way. I hope that helps, and maybe you can you can also respond to this. Let me take some of your live questions. I'm just scrolling through to see if I can find. Okay, so Kush Limbachia, thank you for your question. He's saying, from reading The Nectar of Instruction, one of our books, he noticed that one who can control their tongue, anger, and speech is known as a master of the senses. How can we work towards this? Amazing question. Thank you so much. Yes, a spiritualist is meant to be able to control their mind, control their senses. If we look at the world today, all of the problems of the world are there because people have uncontrolled minds and they have uncontrolled senses. Think about every crime you see in the world is basically connected to uncontrolled senses. And if you look at the biggest health problems in the world, often nowadays they're connected to an uncontrolled mind. And therefore, where in school are you being taught how to control your mind, how to control your senses? No one's teaching. And this is the basic problem of our life. It's amazing. So the scriptures are aimed at helping us control our mind and senses. How do we do that? First, what we do, Kush, is we do it through philosophy. We fix our mind on understanding why controlling my mind and senses leads to a better future. When we philosophically know why we're aiming for something bigger, we can protect ourselves from giving in to the impulsive tendencies of the mind and the senses. The second thing we do, Kush, is we don't just work on the intellectual level to control your mind and senses. We also work on the relationship level. And what do I mean by that? Is share with someone your successes, your struggles. Be open, be honest. If sometimes you fail in controlling your mind and senses, share it with someone. And by talking, you can get more strength to follow your heart's desire to control your mind and senses. When we have good relationships and good honest exchanges, then even when we fall prey to our mind and senses, we can improve. The third thing, Kush, that you need to do to control your mind and senses is work on a practical level. Don't expose yourself to environments, situations, people that will agitate and provoke your mind and senses. If you're trying to give up alcohol, for example, don't hang out in a pub. It's not good news, right? That's a no-brainer. So we work on a practical level. And then the ultimate way, Kush, that you control your mind and senses, work on the spiritual level. And what do I mean by that? Get a higher taste. Connect your mind and senses to the divine, transcendent, spiritual reality, the eternal world. Become so engrossed in a higher taste that the demands of the mind and senses in this world no longer hold any attraction for you. So if you do this, Kush, work on the intellectual, philosophical level, work on the relationship level, work on the practical level, and then ultimately the deepest solution is to work on the spiritual level. and then you'll find that you become a successful controller of the mind and senses. One who's controlled their mind and senses is known as a Swami. So one day, Kush, if you're not already, you will be a Swami, I'm sure. All right, let me take another. We're up to 82 people. Thank you all for joining. It's really nice you came and took your time out to be here. Okay, so this is from I am Dev Manani. So I'm assuming that's Dev Manani, who has a beautiful question. Dev, thank you for your question. He says, sometimes we tend to compare ourselves with others and we get jealous that they get something that I didn't get. How do we overcome the tendency to compare? Yes, we're always comparing, competing, and then complaining. It goes like that. First we compare, and then we compete, and then we complain, and then ultimately we criticize. It's a downward spiral. So how do we get out of this sense of avoiding comparing with others? Dev, what I want to share with you is that the root of comparison is that we have two misconceptions. Number one, we have the wrong definition of success. And number two, we have the wrong approach to success. If you can change these two things, Dev, you will be a liberated person, right? First, what happens is we have the wrong definition of success. How do we define success? All in external things. How much someone earns, how beautiful someone looks, how popular and powerful they are. We measure someone's accomplishment based on their power, their position, their prestige, the number of people that follow them on social media. So many things, right? We have the wrong definition of success. And therefore we look at others, and because we have a very external material definition of success, we tend to start comparing. If we had an internal definition of success, that success is based on sincerity, purity, success is based on qualities, then we wouldn't jump to look at people's externals so quickly, because we'd know that's not the success of their life. Externally, maybe successful, not successful, but internally, something different. So Dev, what we need to do is, the first thing is we need to change our definition of success. It's not based in externals. And we need to wake up and remind ourselves of that every single day. The second thing I want to share with you is that we have the wrong approach to success, because the material world teaches us that if someone else is successful, then that's taking away from my ability to be successful. If someone has money, then that means it's money that I could have had, so they're taking away from my success. If someone has fame and attention, then it's attention that I could have had, so their success is taking away from my success. In the material sphere, our approach to success is someone else has to be unsuccessful, then I can be successful. Therefore, we watch soap operas and things like that where people are basically having loads of problems because it makes us feel better. But when in spiritual spheres, we realize that my success is built upon other people's success. In other words, when you spiritually help someone to be the best they can, you become the best you can. If you try to make someone wise, you become wise automatically. If you try to help someone achieve their potential, you achieve your potential automatically. It's a completely different approach to success. So Dev, what we need to do is redefine what is success and then second thing we need to do is approach success in a different way. And when we do these two things, then you'll find that the tendency to compare with others disappears. Because you realize my success is internal. And you know what? My success is based on the internal success of others. So let me help. Let me assist. Let me serve. Let me be part of their success. So these are high points. What to say? This is our philosophy. It's so beautiful, and it's a challenge to live, but this is the great opportunity we have. So thank you, Dev, for this beautiful question. Vinti Nadran, what can I say? You're just like summarizing the points so nicely. I really, really appreciate that. And perhaps you can put some of these nuggets onto the IG video once it's uploaded, so that people can see it in the future. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you for all your kind comments. Okay, let me now scroll and see if I can find another question. Okay, here we have another question from Tiru, saying, an atheist friend of mine believes that people who believe in God believe white lies to feel like their situation is better than it is. What would your response be? Well, the first thing you can tell them, Tiru, is that whether something makes us feel better or not has no bearing on whether it's true or not. Something can make you feel better, and it can be true. Something can not make you feel better, and that can also be true. So the fact that believing in God makes me feel better, that doesn't necessarily have any bearing on whether God is actually true or not. That's the first and most simple, logical point you can tell them. There are many things which make us feel better, which are completely true, isn't it? So that's the first point. The second thing is that we have to share with people that our belief in God, our belief in the spiritual reality, is not just a belief. I was mentioning this point last week, that Krishna consciousness is a spiritual science. Srila Prabhupada never presented Krishna consciousness as a belief. And so you can tell your friend that just as in science you have a hypothesis, an experiment, and an observation, in our spiritual science we also have a hypothesis, an experiment, and an observation. And we are not just believing, we are experiencing. Why would all of you be on this call? Why would you give up so many things? Why would you live in such a way if you didn't experience something? So we are experiencing. And in this way we can share with people that spiritual life is a reality. It's something that we experience through a very practical means of meditation and yoga and connection with God, like that. I hope that helps. Okay. Let's see what other questions. Harish, nice to see you. Growing with Bhakti, nice to see you. Okay, Growing with Bhakti asks, how do we go about finding the right guru for ourselves? Please. See, because you said please, I'm answering your question. Thank you. No, I would have answered it anyway. It's a beautiful question. How do we find a guru? Dear friends on the call, let me share this very simple sutra with you. The guru is the person who knows you, the person who loves you, and the person who can actually help you. If someone fulfills those three criterias, they are your guru. The first thing is that the guru should know you. You should feel that there's a connection there, that there's a like-mindedness, that the guru's approach to spirituality and their and the answers that they give and the wisdom that they share is something which vibrates on the same frequency as you. In Sanskrit, this is known as sajatiya, like-mindedness. The second thing is that the Guru is the one who loves you. You feel some genuine compassion, some genuine love. You feel that when that person speaks, it's not just that what they're speaking is hitting the right place in your intellect, but it's hitting the right place in your heart, because they say it with such love and care, and they're saying it for your benefit. And not just that, the Guru is the one who can actually help you. In other words, someone may know you and they may love you, but they may not have the spiritual accomplishment to actually help you. So therefore, a Guru has to have spiritual accomplishment. And what does it mean that a Guru has spiritual accomplishment? I'll give you another sutra. The Guru is the one who knows the way, who goes the way, and who is empowered to show the way. So the Guru knows the way to the divine, eternal reality. Not just that, the Guru goes the way. He lives it, or she lives it, and shows the way. They know how to awaken that potential within you to also walk the same path. So in essence, I gave you two sutras. The Guru is the one who knows you, the one who loves you, and the one who can help you. And how do you know the Guru can help you? Because they know the way, they go the way, and they're expert enough to show you the way. And then you know you've met your Guru. And on a deeper level, we have to make a prayer. We have to make a prayer that the divine, the Lord, the providence, Krishna, divinity, whatever you want to call it, will guide you to that person who can help you. Because one who accepts themselves as a Guru accepts a fool for a disciple. Sorry, I just thought I'd add that in. All right, thank you. This is amazing. It's really nice to be on call with you. All right, let's go to something different. KNB Krishna. It's a nice profile name. It caught my attention. KNB Krishna. Beautiful question. Says, what are your thoughts on the modern dairy industry? Should devotees be supporting or paying into that? Okay, this is an in-depth topic which raises a lot of emotions, definitely, because there's so much cruelty going on out there. All of us know that the way animals, the way cows are treated in the world today is extremely hurtful to our minds and our hearts. So what is our response to that? Different devotees respond to this in different ways. Some devotees, what they will do is they will take the path of saying that we only accept milk from cows that are protected for their whole life. Ahimsa milk they take. So now in the UK we have many ahimsa farms where cows are cared for till their final days and are treated very beautifully and cared for. And some spiritualists will only take milk from such cows. They are known as ahimsa vegetarians. Some devotees take the position of having milk, even though that milk comes from an industry in which there's been cruelty. And how may they justify that? They justify that perhaps on 2 points, or 2 ways in which they approach that. The first thing is, we realize that when the milk of the cow is offered to Krishna, then the cow is getting great spiritual benefit. And so in that way, even though so much cruelty and violence has happened, at least the spiritual benefit is given to the cow by offering that milk to Krishna. However, there is a sense in which we can just use this argument and become complacent and not do anything to rectify the situation. And therefore, what many devotees do is that every time they buy a pint of milk or a liter of milk from the supermarket, what they do is they set aside a set amount, say 10 pence or 20 pence, and they put that into a jar every time they buy a liter of milk. And they say, for every liter of milk I buy, I'm going to donate a certain amount towards protecting cows and protecting or creating these ahimsa farms. And in that way, what they're doing is they're fulfilling their requirements of having milk, but at the same time, they're contributing towards a better future for the cows. And so that's something that you can do. This is a very, very individual choice. But our theology says that there is a very natural relationship between the humans and the cows. And therefore, the cow's milk is very beneficial. The cow's milk is the miracle food. It's very much part of our diet. But we have to try to somehow make an improvement to how cows are treated. And many, many wonderful initiatives are happening where individuals are really making an effort to improve things. So yes, thank you for that question. That could be a whole session, what to say. We are 8:35 and I'm not going to go on for longer than 45 minutes. We have about 9 minutes left. Just Dhruv asked about how we can journal effectively. And just a few days ago, we put a video on the YouTube about how to journal. So here it is, the public announcement, the advertisement. If you guys can, go to YouTube and just kind of boost it up, promote it up. We're trying to share some wisdom there to help the people. And you'll find a video there on journaling as well, which you might find useful, perhaps. Yes, journaling is amazing. It's such a great thing. All right, let me now scroll through all these comments and see where we can find another interesting question that you may have. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining. I am Dev Manani. Okay, we'll go with your question. How to make your family devotees? How to make those who are near and dear to you more favorable to spirituality? Dev, I think the first thing is we got to be kind. You're changing. You know, when you take up spiritual life, it changes you. Once my mom came to me and she said, "Can't you just be normal?" And it was so sweet. I sensed the frustration in her loving heart. So sometimes our friends and family, they're just concerned that you're changing, that they're going to lose you, that they're not going to be able to spend time with you. They're concerned that maybe you're wasting opportunities in your life. So first thing is you got to be patient. It takes time. Give them time. Give them some breathing space to understand it. And, you know, even if they do say sometimes a few unkind things or they're not 100% cooperative always, don't hold a grudge. Just be patient. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is, more than words, your activities will speak louder. Become a better person. Be kinder. Be more tolerant. Try to show how taking up spirituality has made you a better person, a better son, a better servant, and conquer their heart through your character rather than your philosophy. That's another thing you can try. The third thing I would say is give them lots of prashadam or spiritual food. That's a really beautiful thing you can do for them. It's such an offering of love to cook for someone. And of course, we know that when that is spiritual food, then it really has an effect on them. So that's another thing I would say. Another idea, Dev, is you can get people who are their age to try to, other spiritual devotees or other spiritualists who are their age, to connect with them. Because sometimes they can do more for bringing them into spiritual life than necessarily you. The fifth thing I would say is try to include them in what you're doing. Try to bring them to events. Try to do something at home spiritual with them. Try to take them on holiday to spiritual places, and sometimes doing things together. Sometimes they feel that by spiritual life, their life and your life is diverging and you're living in your own world. So try to bring them into that world. These are different things you can try. And ultimately, every soul is on their own journey. So we can't force anyone to take up anything. So just try your best, pray for them, and then hope for the best, and realize that you have to respect their individuality. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and see what last question I can take. Thank you, Purvam. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. So thank you, Pranav. Pranav, let's take your question. It's 8:41, and Pranav Palmer gets the last say on today's call. What would you do if people look down on you? Thank you for that question. That's such an important question. Oftentimes people look down on us. Oftentimes people discourage us. Oftentimes people criticize us. And that can be the most deflating thing in the world. The first thing I would say, Pranav, is make sure you have enough people in your life who do the opposite. People who encourage you. People who uplift you. People who have faith in you. And people who can give you a vision of the brighter future. Shall I tell you, even if you have 1 or 2 or 3 people like that in your life who are genuinely your well-wishers, it doesn't matter how many people are looking down on you, it won't affect you. So just make sure, first and foremost, there's enough positive, beautiful, progressive energy coming into your life, and invest in those relationships. The greatest thing you can have in your life is a person in your life who has more faith in you than yourself. If you have that, you will see how you can rise to your potential. So invest in those relationships. What to do if people look down on us? The first thing, Pranav, is realize that anyone who feels the need to look down or discourage or deflate another person, it means that there's a stagnancy in their own life. When people are not progressing, not growing, not evolving, then what they tend to do is drag other people back. So the first thing you have to realize is most likely it's that person's own weakness and issues that they're going through, and in that way don't take it personally. The second thing you can do, Pranav, is when someone looks down on you, use it as an opportunity to be introspective and say in their comments, in their criticism, in their critiques of me, is there anything I can take that may be worth working on, worth improving on? You know, sometimes even the best advice can come from the greatest critic. Because sometimes there may be a little bit of truth in what everyone says. So try to always find some good, even in the words of a critic, that can help you to grow. The third thing I would tell you, Pranav, is that when people look down on us, use it as an opportunity to develop your internal muscles of tolerance and humility. You know, if no one ever provoked you, if no one ever acted towards you in a certain way that made you feel angry or frustrated, if we never faced those challenges, then we'd not face the resistance which helps us to develop tolerance and humility. So every time we encounter these situations or personalities, we can use it as an opportunity to develop our humility and our tolerance and say, thank you. You've come today as a messenger of the divine to teach me tolerance and humility. Because you know what Srila Prabhupada writes? One's greatness is measured by their ability to tolerate provoking people and provoking situations. One's greatness is measured by their ability to tolerate provocation. And so let us realize it's a great opportunity. Easier said than done, Pranav. Let's try it this week. So we are at 8:45. We had a great session. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. If you did enjoy it, you can give us some love, give us some waves, whatever kind of things they do on Instagram. You can give us a thumbs up or a comment. We talked about a bunch of stuff. We talked about the difference between plans and expectations. We talked about science. We talked about ahimsa dairy. We talked about how to encourage those around us to be more spiritual. We talked about what to do if your people are looking down on you. We talked about how to find a guru. We kind of went around the world, I think, in 45 minutes around the philosophical world. So thank you. I'm kind of surcharged to be with all of you. I don't want to hang up this call, but I also don't want to break my word. And the final few things I'm going to share with you is that next week I want to do something really, really interesting with you. There are Christian monks who used to do something called, or who continue to do something called Lectio Divina. And Lectio Divina is a very contemplative, reflective type of reading. And in our tradition, we also have the same thing, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, Vandanam. If you're not familiar with those terms, fear not. Next week, what I'm thinking to do with all of you is we'll do a live session where we'll actually go into some deep contemplative reading and maybe give you an experience of what the Eastern version of Lectio Divina looks like. I also want to do some live exercises with you, not like the push-ups and star jumps type of exercises, but I'm going to take some exercises from Gita 3, which is a book we put out recently. And I want to run through those with you and hopefully show you how those are really useful. All that's left to say is I really, really appreciate all of you coming on. It's been amazing. We're connecting here. Maybe some of you are going towards Vrindavan. Himesh, I hope you get your visa. I hope to see some of you in Vrindavan. And if I don't see you in Vrindavan, then I'm definitely going to try and share some thoughts from some holy places in Vrindavan. Otherwise, we'll see you all somewhere along the journey to connect again and experience this wonderful spiritual connection. So thank you so much. All that's left to say is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. May you have wonderful dreams and wake up bright and early tomorrow, realizing that we're all on a mission. We're all on a mission to take that journey, the journey home, the journey back to the spiritual reality. Good luck on the journey. and we'll see you all very, very soon. All the best. I'm just figuring out how to close this without messing it up.